All right, folks, it looks like it is officially 6:01. So we are a minute late to our Wednesday, September 9th virtual meeting of the Transform Fresno quarterly meetings that we have for the community to get an update on where we stand with the Transform Fresno initiative that includes the TCC funds and a lot of leverage funds from the rest of the community. As a quick opening statement, I'd like to say thank you for all those who participate in today's virtual groundbreaking for the Monarch Chinatown Housing Project that's being led by the Housing Authority. It was an interesting experience for all of us who participate in our first virtual groundbreaking, but I think it was done successfully. And most importantly, construction of that housing project that will be critical to Chinatown's future is officially off to a start. So it's the first brick and mortar, 2x4s physical project that's moving as part of this initiative. So thank you for all those who started. With that, we're going to move on to the first part of the agenda, the project highlights, and I'll hand it over to Courtney for an update on Project 14.
Thank you, Council President Arias. So I'd like to introduce Mia Hodge-Greer and Nicole Hutchings. Nicole works for EOC, and they are going to be doing a presentation for the Project 14, which is the Inside Out Community. Let me get that started for you, ladies, and then you can.
Are you ready? Oh,
go ahead.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Nia, and it's great to be back on presenting with you all tonight. So I am with Another Level Training Academy, Inside Out Community Garden, Project 14. And this first slide is our before. You can go ahead, Courtney, and next slide. These are our garden beds, the children helping prepare the garden beds for our grand opening. And that was in October. So you have them in there, amending the soil, pulling out the weeds, turning the soil over, asking me a lot of questions, but it was fun. We have here our ADA accessible garden bed that was manufactured and brought in by one of our partners, Royal Roots Family Farm. And the day of the grand opening, we had, I believe it was President Miguel, Council President, and Mayor Lee Brand put some soil in as an inaugural event. Next slide. Here is a picture from our grand opening when we did our presentation of the garden and what was to be expected. Next slide, please. Here we have chocolate drop from Royal Roots Family Farm. As I said, Royal Roots is our partner, and we just recently, they've become a 4-H, so they're a Fresno 4-H as well. So there'll be more great things to come with them as well. They're partnered with the Inside Out Community Garden, so they come out and help as I implement education and different things they bring to the project. Next slide, please. So here is where we hosted our Clean Air event last year with the Clean Air Coalition. And this year, we're really going to be in need of another micro grant or hold another event for that. So that was something we kicked off right. I think that was after our grand opening last October. Next slide. And again, this was some of the seedlings that was given out during the Clean Air Day. We have a sticker from my other organization, which is the Hive, the Asthma Awareness Foundation. That is in honor of my daughter, Alanique, and my granddaughter, Ricky. And so stickers were given out and information about asthma. And every November, which commemorates the day of the asthma attack as well as the birth of Ricky. We do a mosaic, a healing workshop. So we also include them in the garden piece. Next slide, please. Here we have the sunflower. During the Clean Air Day, we talked about the sunflower and what it does. And the sunflower is symbiotic and it works with the garden and the atmosphere as well. So we talked to the kids about the benefits of a sunflower being planted in the garden. The sunflower actually takes in radiation and cleans the soil and helps with the clean the air as well. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I think it's not sharing correctly, and then I'm gonna
okay. Yeah, see okay, it's jumping into the.
Yeah. Okay, how's that?
Okay, it's still the soil that we gave out, the microgreens for Clean Air Day. There we go. Better. And they're
showing correctly now?
Yes, well, the sunflower's up, but I'm done with that one. Great. Okay, there we go. So I believe was it March of this year, we got our ADA accessible path poured that goes to the bed as well. And so we had the grounds of the garden, the scaled. We put in our irrigation and we put in our bubblers for the water spouts for the trees, and then Corona. So now we're just waiting. We do have our trees in, but next slide, I'll think that'll highlight that. So again, here's our ADA accessible garden bed pathway. Came out really great. Next slide. So here we have our drip irrigation. So we got the ground scaled, we have the drip irrigation, the PVC piping in to where we were going to plant the trees. Next slide, please. We're preparing to plant the trees. Those two cuties right there are my granddaughters. So they went with me and we went out and picked the trees that we had, the drought resistant trees, and they were excited about getting ready to plant. Next slide, please. So here's the tree planting day. So tree planting day took place, I believe, March, like the beginning of March. And we have the after school children, the Fresno Street Saints after school program children. They were out there planting trees, helping. I didn't let them help too much with digging the holes because I was using some heavy equipment, but they were out there. They enjoyed it. They asked a lot of questions. They were all hands-on. Next slide, please. Here we had our seedlings that we had planted. So we had rainbow carrots. I think it was some spinach, some collard greens, and I believe more microgreens. Next slide, please. Here we have the little cuties. They were out there helping put the seedlings in the little cells to get ready for the spring planting. Next slide. And there we go again. We have our kids there, and they were, we do garden talks when I'm there after school. So I'll get groups of them, at least 7 to 10 of them. We kind of rotate so that no one's overstimulated, and we get to answer and participate. They can participate and I can answer all the questions they have. Next slide. So here we have our spring planting. We have our chives. We have those purple things are mustard greens. And then we had butter lettuce. And I believe we had some peppers there. Next slide. And then after Corona, the garden, of course, was closed down to the community, and came up with some more creative ways to engage the community. We realized that during the time that people were off work, there was a need for food. So the Inside Out connected with Stones of the Community, another community-based organization. And we got in there and started handing out food. We got food from the food bank and other, got a hold of some other donations. Also, Food to Share Metro Ministries kicked in, and Yosemite Gardens. I guess that's what it's called, I believe. And excuse me if I didn't say it right. And of course, the Hive. So we gave out information about the asthma awareness, resources about how to get food and access to healthy food during the times that the community center has been closed down. Next slide. And I've hosted 3 cooking demos. The first one was in November. We did sweet potato pies. So we had the sweet potatoes donated to us by the Street Saints, and we sent home recipes with the children. Their parents were in and out, kind of engaging, but the recipes were sent home with the children. The children were more hands-on than the adults. And pictured here are some of the virtual cooking demonstrations that I've been doing since I've been quarantined. So we have the raw walnut tacos, quinoa enchiladas, and I forgot what that was down there. I think that's the mixture for the inside of the enchiladas. Next slide, please. Here is some more of the community partnering. This is what Food to Share Metro Ministries and Food to Share shared with us, vegetables and fruit for our food giveaways. And we were doing them monthly. We started in May. Our first one was in May. We had another one in June. And then we partnered with Yolanda just recently in August for the school, the backpack giveaway. And Walmart also donated. So we were able to do some more things since we've been sitting here waiting to open back up. Next slide, please. We've also, here's Royal Roots, the Royal Kids again, EOC's Wellness Garden. They're also my fiscal agent and partner. So we go out there and the children designed the wellness garden and planted I think that was the summer seedlings. And they will be out there again on the 17th of this month. They'll go out. They are designing, since they're on distance learning, a hub. They all of them are schooling together and at a location, and they are designing how they want the garden to look for fall. So on the 17th, they'll go out and they will replant for the fall crop. Next slide, please. So here's May's food giveaway. Oh, the city of Fresno, they also came out and gave out some information about the coronavirus. We had the men from the George L. Green Lodge, I believe, they came out and helped us as well. Next slide, please. This was June's food drive-through giveaway, the Stones of the Community. We gave out food again in June. I spoke of that earlier. Next slide, please. I think this is a clip, yes, from the food giveaway. So this is just some stuff pictures of the other partners that joined us. And it was highlighted on the news, so that was pretty exciting. Those are some of the items that were given away. And I believe we served about 250 families.
No mask.
Okay, and here we go here. The kids were giving out summer slide packets. We were giving out stuff for the children to keep their minds sharp during this, during the summer before school started. So here are ways you can connect with the Inside Out Community Garden. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and also a website, Inside Out Community Garden. There's a YouTube channel for recipes and to see what's cooking. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to Inside Out Community Garden. And what we have going on now is still working on implementation. We just put in two of our picnic tables were just delivered on the 3rd of September. And I've been just going out there, still watering the trees and waiting for the community to be able to come back into the community center. But in the meantime, I've been engaging the community, and I've been doing so via social media, social platforms, the Instagram, the cooking. I actually did a video for EOC, a commercial. I think it was a small commercial on Food Matters. And I did a salsa video, making salsa out of the tomatoes in the garden. So still been staying busy, thinking of more creative ways as things get a little bit more, not as we all are, we're using the platforms, we're using the tools that we have to engage and still impact the community. And what else? In the next 6 months, what do we expect, Nicole?
Well, first I wanted to add that one of the picnic tables is also ADA accessible.
Okay.
So it's, easy for someone if they're in a wheelchair. I think that we are hoping to be able to have our kids come back soon to help them, so they can help us with the garden, like they were doing before. There's not very much we can do outside of Nia's creativity in the cooking videos, but we're hopeful that we can start doing something soon, even if it's allowing someone to help tend to the garden, a family.
I'm working on creating a family, a parent board. And if we do that, I don't know how that'll work, if there will be a way that, a family board a board of parents or community, people that live in the community can come in and kind of check in and work in the garden, socially distanced. So that's something I'm kind of brainstorming on. And I'd like more feedback if anybody else had any suggestions, if it was something that looks feasible. Yep. So I've just been out in the community, talking about the importance of having your own gardens, showing how to make your own garden beds. I get a lot of inbox messaging about that, refurbishing old furniture to use for garden beds. People have really started growing things now that they're at home and they have time to do it. So that's exciting. I've been doing consulting via social media, but yeah, we're still working.
So Nia, if it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and show that video that was created.
Oh, great. Thank you. Sure.
Fresno Street Saints was founded 20 years ago to make Southwest Fresno a safe and healthy community. We've partnered with Another Level Training Academy.
Let's not forget our habanero, and then I'm going to garnish with a little bit of cilantro. Mix all the ingredients up, and here you have it. Again, like I said, less than 10 ingredients. You'll have a healthy snack and great to share. Accessibility and having the food on hand means you'll eat it. If you grow it, you'll eat it. If you grow it, you want to try it. So here at Sunset, we are promoting healthy lifestyles. We're showing children that you too can participate in growing your own food.
All right. So thank you, Nia, for and Nicole for your presentation. That was great. So we are continuing to work with some amazing partners on our transformative plan. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over. So now we're going to take project questions. And if you have any questions for our team on project number 14, go ahead and raise your hand and we will call on you and unmute you so you can speak. Anybody? Do any of our panel members have any questions either? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next transformative plans update. And so, like I said, we're working with some amazing partners for our transformative plans initiative. And so I want to give them this time to speak about their components of the community engagement plan and the displacement avoidance plan work. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start off with Fresno EOC, and they're going to talk about their work.
Hello, everybody. Courtney, can you start our PowerPoint, please? I'm Christine Morgan, Marketing and Communications Manager at Fresno EOC. Thank you, Nia. I love the video. I don't know if everybody was able to hear it on here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. So we do have a few updates for you, and we're going to cover, I'll wait until, is it in presentation mode?
It's not working for me. Try this again. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we go ahead and go to the next slide. So we have a few things that we have accomplished, and we are going to go over our accomplishments, what we look forward in the next 6 months, some logo and branding concepts, and then also how to connect with us. Next slide. So what we've done so far, I have our whole team here, and we're just going to kind of go over some of the things that we've gone over. We have some logo concepts that are still in draft form that we will be revealing tonight during the meeting for the community to vote on some of the concepts. That's where we're at with logo concepts and branding. And then once we're done with that, we have those finalized in the near future, then we will be working on our website. And we have Chris here who can give us an update on where we're at with the website.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Chris. Just want to say what we got.
1 second. Go back real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, we're not.
Thank you.
We're gonna stick on this one for a while. Talking about the website, what we've been doing, we've been doing quite a bit of prep work for it, I would say. You know, we've been working on kind of laying out in outline form how we want to present the information. And then also looking at some of the visual aspects, you know, how we want to present the information visually and what kinds of ways that we want to do that. We've prepped some of the back end work, so we have our development site ready to go, so we can start doing some experimenting with what the way it sets and the way it looks, things like that. And so in our next kind of stage of where we are. With the branding, you know, we'll be able to implement colors and start looking at kind of how we want to use those colors throughout the site as well. So we're in a good, you know, preparation spot, and things are moving. It's one of those things where you won't get to see what's moving for a while, but things are moving in the background, and we are actually moving along quite well.
Thank you, Chris. And then Jose has an update on our video and photography.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. As you saw, maybe not heard very well, but we did the Inside Out Community Garden video. And that was just an example of us using a project and, you know, turning it into content. The TCC project is a huge aggregator of content. We can have content for social media and YouTube, and not only can we update update on the projects, but we can also turn it into something fun like the cooking video. And that's kind of what I was looking for from our projects is, you know, I could cover the nuts and bolts of how the projects are coming along, but also we're looking for that human interest. We're looking for that, you know, something that's gonna carry on like social content stories. We're looking for stories as well. So if your project has something like that, you know, feel free to reach out. At the end of this presentation, we'll have a slide with how to reach us. But that's kind of our goal in the video and the media side of it, is I would like it to work as a megaphone for your guys' projects. I want to share it with the community and put it on, you know, social and on web. So feel free to reach out, and I have the video if you want me to play it at full volume. Is that something we want to do?
I say we had some technical issues. Courtney, is it okay if we play that video again? We're gonna have Jose do it from his computer. Okay, go ahead, Jose.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and I cannot share my screen. I'm going to try to share my screen again. Okay. 1 second. Trying to find my desktop to share. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Share computer sound. Okay, it should work this time.
Fresno Street Saints was founded 20 years ago to make Southwest Fresno a safe and healthy community. We've partnered with Another Level Training Academy to create our Inside Out Community Garden.
We are lowering the greenhouse gas emissions, remediating food insecurities, and teaching healthy lifestyles. Now I'm going to show you how to make a healthy appetizer using some of the ingredients that grow right here in the garden. I'm going to show you how to make a salsa. I have a habanero that I just picked out of the garden. It is not quite ripe because ripe habaneros are orange, but I'm going to use this for flavor. Tomatoes, onions, lemon juice. We have cilantro, salt, chili flakes, garlic powder, and pepper. So what I'm going to do here is start by putting the onions into the tomatoes. So did you know that tomatoes are actually a fruit and not a vegetable? And they're also an antioxidant and rich in vitamin C. Let's not forget our habanero, and then I'm going to garnish with a little bit of cilantro. Mix all the ingredients up, and here you have it. Again, like I said, less than 10 ingredients, you'll have a healthy snack and great to share. Accessibility and having the food on hand means you'll eat it. If you grow it, you'll eat it. If you grow it, you want to try it. So here at Sunset, we are promoting healthy lifestyles. We are showing children that you too can participate in growing your own food.
Okay. So that was just an example. Can you still hear me? Okay. Yeah, so that was just an example of, you know, taking a project and turning it into shareable, fresh content. Thank you, Nia and Nicole. Appreciate you guys for doing that. You guys did great. And of course, I'd love to go out there again, and we're gonna shoot some more video and pictures of the kids in the garden in the upcoming weeks. But that's just kind of what I wanted to reach out to the rest of the projects is, if you have photos, if you notice in the video, there were pictures of kids. Share the photos with us, share your milestones with us. If you guys are gonna have a groundbreaking or any kind of event, share them with the Fresno EOC, and I'll make sure to be out there with the camera. And as long as you're not nervous to be interviewed in front of camera, we'll have a good time with it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jose. And then Gabby, you have an update for us for our newsletter template for Transform Fresno?
Yes, so yeah, my name is Gabby and I'm a communications specialist. And yes, so we have our newsletter template ready to go. And so this will be an email for community members to just get updates on different things happening with Transform Fresno. And similar to the website, we wanted to have that same look and feel so that when people get it, they're very familiar as to why they're getting this email. And we're really excited to start working on that. And it'll just be another piece of the puzzle, like the videos, the photos, and the content on our website.
All right, thank you. And then the next slide. So as you all can see, everything that we're working on is really dependent on the branding strategy. So that's what we're going to focus on. So in the next 6 months, for the Prime Partner and Media and Communications update, we will be having our regular community engagement updates, finalizing the logo and branding, develop branding guidelines. We will be creating a new website, which Chris mentioned earlier. We'll also develop social media pages as needed, including a Transform Fresno page on Facebook so that we can share project updates. For instance, the Community Garden Project, if they're updating anything on social media, we can share it on the Transform Fresno page. We'll be developing project videos, media, and PSAs to share on the web and social media as well. And we'll be utilizing our existing relationships with media outlets too. So next slide, please. And Gabby.
I almost forgot to unmute. So yes, I'll be discussing direct outreach and event coordination. And so with COVID-19, this looks a lot different, much like Nia's plans changed, ours will have to be a bit different as well. And so, but in the next 6 months, you'll see a volunteer interest database. And so that would be a collection of volunteers. You'll see the newsletter, and that will, of course, incorporate the branding that Christine mentioned, a community calendar. So that will be our responsibility to have a calendar with all of the great events that are happening. And then we will help with surveys and distribution of flyers. And so that might look a little different as well. And as you can see, there's a photo of just some census outreach because census was a project that we did during COVID-19. And this photo is of, an intern holding up a census poster with PPE gear. And so we want to just remind people that health and safety is going to be top of mind as we transition into opening back up. And then that leads into hybrid events and any sort of events that we have, whether it's in person and virtual. We will be looking at, how we can best suit the needs of our project partners. And so we're just going to see, what might be best in different scenarios. And then there's also a photo right here of a virtual event that we did for Women's Equality Day. And it was really neat because it was on social media and we were able to share it on Facebook Live. And so we'll be looking at different strategies like those, especially for project milestone events, and then also the Transform Fresno Summit.
Thank you, Gabby. And next slide. So this is the portion of our logo and branding. So we're going to cover some information. Now this is Basically, these are just drafts. We are collecting information, and we actually have a Survey Monkey ready to go for community members who are on this call, as well as on the Facebook. I think this is on Facebook Live, so it'll be, the link will be posted on there. And we want to get input as far as what's, you know, we want representation. We want people to give input. So the input that we'll receive will be used in consideration for finalizing the logo. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So some of the things that we were thinking about as far as coming up with the logo and branding ideas is what does Transform Fresno mean? So we looked at the goals of the community projects: transportation, greening, the housing, communities, and we also are looking at transforming our communities and bettering the infrastructure. We did receive a little bit of feedback from the Outreach and Oversight Committee, and we asked some of our engagement partners, so just some keywords on what Transform Fresno really meant to them. And on the right, you'll see a word cloud of all of the words that came up over and over again: communities, residents, feelings, viable energy, greening, transportation. So all of these words were coming up over and over again. So we took all of this into consideration when we were thinking of our branding. And then we were also thinking of the other TCC projects throughout the state. We were looking at what they were doing as well. So we took all of that into consideration. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So we have a few different ideas and designs that we would like input on. And in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and put a link in there for the Survey Monkey, and you guys can vote now, you can vote later. The deadline is going to be Sunday at 11:59 p.m. for community feedback. And we'll also post that link in other places to get as much feedback as possible. So as you can see, the information that I provided in the previous slide really directed the designs for our team. So before I move forward with anything, do you guys have any questions about what's on this slide? Okay, so.
And just for clarification, Christine, we will be posting that link to the Survey Monkey on the Transform Fresno website. I don't know that the chat box is available that people can see, so we will make sure we post that on transformfresno.com.
Perfect. And wherever it's possible, if we can post it on the City of Fresno Facebook page, where this meeting is actually being held, if we can edit that post and add the link there too, or in the comment or something, that would be great. And then on the survey, you'll be able to vote 1 through 7, but also on the survey are other questions. There's opportunity to provide suggestions and comments or any other information that you would feel helpful with designing the logo. Any feedback is really appreciated. Also, there's a section on there if you feel like a tagline would make the logo and the message more clear for our communities. So for an example, working toward a healthier Fresno would go underneath the logo or to the side of it. If something like that, there's a fill in the blank. So if you have any ideas, you can fill that in there. There's also a place for you to choose what you're representing. Are you in a neighborhood that that our community projects are in? Are you an outreach and oversight member, engagement partner, project partner? Or if it's not listed in there, you can just fill in the blank wherever you'd like to. And then asking some demographic information, just so we can make sure that we have good representation across all of our communities. Let's see, next slide, please. So there is the link, and the selection will be announced through transformfresno.com and the City of Fresno Facebook page once it's approved by the Outreach and Oversight Committee. And all of the feedback that's going to be brought in, again, this is for consideration in changing the logo if needed, or choosing one that best represents whichever direction that the survey directs us to go in. Next slide. So here's this email address that you can email us to stay connected. We would love to hear about project updates, any events that you have coming up, or photo opportunities. And if you're doing virtual, if you're recording the meetings or the virtual events, we would love to hear from from you about those events, and even get the recording, or if you have photos or want us to come out and take photos, we can do that as well. Some of the other ideas that we were talking about among our team for events was, we actually thought about doing hybrid events, possibly drive up resource fairs or something else about in the community. So we're thinking future forward for the summit for next year. We have no idea what it looks like with COVID and if anything is going to change. So that would be great. It looks like Council President just completed the survey and it was quick and easy. Thank you very much. And next slide, the survey. Any questions or comments, anything for our team?
I don't see any, so let's go back to our next presenter. Is going to be Shermua from the Youth League.
Courtney, if I may just make one suggestion for feedback purposes. All the concepts on the logos is great. The only thing I would ask the team to wrestle with is how they incorporate the diversity of the city and the area that's being represented. Whether it might be some kind of line with multiple colors, because I'm sure it's too difficult to add different languages, but we have probably nearly 100 languages spoken in the city and different cultures and communities. So if you can find some kind of element that you could include to represent visually the diversity of the city, that would be helpful to everyone.
We will definitely take that into consideration. Thank you very much for that feedback.
Any other feedback? No? Okay, we'll move on to our next community engagement plan partner, which is Shermua from the Youth Leadership Institute, and he's going to discuss the Transform Fresno Leadership Development Program. And I will get that up and running for you.
Thank you, Courtney.
My apologies.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shermua. I'm a program manager with Youth Leadership Institute. And in partnership with Fresno EOC Street Saints, we are coordinating the Transform Fresno Youth Leadership Development Program. Next slide, please. So what we want to do this evening is provide updates about what we've accomplished with this team, what we're currently working on, and what folks can expect in the next 6 months. So since being awarded the contract, we've developed a work plan to launch the first cohort of the Transform Fresno Youth Leaders and creating a TCC-based curriculum. And so we started this, and we're working with young people, working with a group of four to five young people, and they'll be on the next slide. But we created an application where we recruited young people to be part of this youth design team. The purpose of the youth design team is to work with Fresno EOC and Wildlife staff to develop this Transform Fresno curriculum, youth leadership development curriculum, and to also help us design the program. And so since we've onboarded these young folks about a month ago, we've been meeting with them regularly virtually, of course, during this pandemic. And so we received more interest. We received 10 applications for we were looking to fill 5 positions, but we received more applications than we were able to fill. So for those young people who weren't invited to join this youth design team, we're going to be inviting them to design the youth cohort. And so one of the differences between the youth design team and the youth cohort is the youth design team is working with the staff to design the curriculum, right? And ultimately to design the program, what it's going to look like this first year, and continue to work on it and tweak it in the years to come. One of the other things that we've been able to do with this youth design team is through our partnership with Fresno OC, we've been able to secure funding. We've been able to secure funding so that we're able to provide young people with a tablet so that they're able to connect onto these virtual online meetings, and also able to provide them with a stipend for their service and the youth design team. Next slide, please. And so these are our young people. These are 3 of the 5 young people who are pictured here. They're alumni of Edison High School. For the youth design team and for the youth cohort, we're intentionally recruiting young people who live in the project area. So all 3 of our young people here, from left to right, Sani, Sean, and Gabriel all live in Southwest Fresno, all have attended Edison High School or are attending Edison High School. And so they're part of the youth design team, our inaugural youth design team. And we're hoping that they'll continue onto the youth cohort, which we're looking to launch this fall. Next slide, please. And so what have we been working on? So we've been meeting with this small group of young people, and we've been building their leadership skills. A part of that is educating them about Transform Fresno, the background about Transform Fresno. And so that's been in partnership with Street Saints. So we've been brought in staff to do that. We've also been, I think, learning about what their understanding of Transform Fresno and their understanding of the projects that are going on in the project area. So that's also been helpful in us picking their brains to help us inform what the curriculum is going to look like and what we need to cover. We're also looking at other opportunities. So folks know opportunities in Southwest Fresno, throughout Fresno, for our young people to build their skills. And we're looking to build their skills in facilitation, in workshops, in communication, and public speaking. So if you have opportunities that are coming up, please connect with us. We'd love to connect our young people to these trainings to build their capacity and to build their leadership. So we've been doing that. They're also working on a recruitment strategy. I think with schools, we've been recruiting through like our respective programs, but with school being virtual this fall, we're working on a plan to reach young people in Southwest Fresno to recruit them to be a part of the inaugural youth cohort. So our young people are doing that. We're hoping to begin recruiting in the coming weeks. We've already received some inquiries from partners that they have young people who are interested. So if you do have that information, please do send it our way, and we'll be happy to reach out to young people once we begin recruiting for that cohort of 12. Next slide. What can folks expect? So as I mentioned, we're going to be recruiting for this first cohort, and this will be the inaugural cohort of the Transform Fresno Youth Leadership Development Program. We're excited. I think based on the interest that we received so far for the youth design team, we're really excited to begin diving into this with the young people. I think one of the benefits that we've seen, especially with our co-coordinators in this, is just building the relationship with the young people who live in Southwest Fresno. And I think a number of them expressed just, I think, interest and appreciation for the opportunity to connect to projects that are happening and to connect to Transform Fresno, which is happening for a lot of them literally in their backyards. And so we're going to continue to recruit young people from Southwest Fresno, prioritize those young people who live in the project area. We're also going to be looking for opportunities to connect our young people to the myriad of TCC projects in the area to build their knowledge, but also to engage them with community partners, to engage them with residents, to engage them with those projects. And so that's what we're looking forward to in the next couple of months. And so that's the update that we have for now. And we want to open it up for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Sure. I appreciate your update. We're going to move right along and hear from our Thrivance project, our Thrivance group. They are participating in the data and reporting component, leading that for the community engagement, and they're also working on our displacement avoidance plan initiative. So let me turn that over to Dr. Destiny Thomas from the Thrivance group.
Thank you, Courtney. I didn't know that you could bestow the honor of allowing folks to share their own screen. Can I do that too, or no?
Yes, you can.
Okay, and then I can skip through my slides pretty quickly.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Everyone can see, can I get a thumbs up? Wonderful. So actually, Let me minimize this first. So our work in terms of the community engagement aspect of Transform Fresno has some duality to it. We are the data collection and data interpretation partner for the CEP aspect of the work, but our primary mechanism for that data collection and analysis is happening through our displacement avoidance plan role. And so I want to talk a little bit about where we are in terms of our progress on that. Just want to remind folks that we had 3 goals coming into this. The first one was to culminate into a set of policies that would help prevent, disrupt, and predict displacement in the broader region of Fresno. We also want to work with city staff to develop their internal and institutional capacity to implement those policies. But what is more closely linked to community engagement is our desire to create a set of tools and resources that we can leave behind so that residents don't just know about this project, but understand the history and the legacy of planning and how Fresno came to be what it is, and how residents themselves can self-organize and mobilize to continue to make these kind of transformative changes in the community. So there's a lot of work that goes into this. Everything that is at the top in the lighter text is work that's already been done. Everything that's at the bottom that's grayed out is work that we still need to do. So tonight I'm just going to touch on what we're in the middle of doing right now, which is the bolded text in the middle. And so our primary mechanism for data collection and community engagement is what oral history collection effort, and an archival research project as well. And so our strategic planner who's leading that effort, Brittany Brown, is also on a line, and she can answer questions about that work when I'm done presenting. The other things that we're working on is convening a team of community members to inform the policy recommendations that will come out of our work. And so we're calling those policy development / dignity labs. And that will happen through a series of 3 workshops. The first community workshop will be where we lay out sort of our methodology and explain to people what our collective roles are in the development of the policy proposal. The second one will be to update participating residents on our research progress, and that progress will be based on what they advised us to do in the first workshop. And then the last workshop will present sort of our final recommendations, vet them with the community leaders who have leaned into the process, and then develop a presentation and a structure for sharing those outcomes and recommendations with the broader community. And then lastly, the thing that I'm most excited about is the deployment of our info hub. So our info hub serves a couple of purposes. One is we wanted to make sure we had satellite locations across the city of Fresno for people to have a low stakes opportunity to weigh in on the decisions that are being made through our role on the contract. So we didn't want folks to feel like or to think that they had to attend a meeting or a workshop or log on anywhere to submit their feedback. We also didn't want folks to be beholden to sort of a limited window of opportunity to provide that feedback. And so we've partnered with most of the essential locations or essential destinations that are still open during COVID-19 to co-locate project information and engagement opportunities directly in those spaces. And so we're hoping to work with EOC to procure the assets for that so that we can roll that out toward the end of this month. I'm going to really skip ahead in the interest of time. The other thing that we've been working more intently on is developing a fidelity tool that we can share with the other community engagement partners on the project. And so this tool itself that's on the screen is accompanied by an entire handbook. And the handbook talks about how to do community engagement, number one, during the time of COVID, which is a new phrase, but during the time of COVID, how to do community engagement, but also how to do community engagement through this lens of anti-displacement. And so I won't go into tremendous detail about how the tool works, but we will definitely be sharing that handbook as a public-facing document within the next week or so, and definitely before our anti-displacement task force meeting. But we're excited about this tool, and we hope that all of the CEP partners find it to be useful. And we see ourselves as strategists to support the work that you're doing, and to just add a layer of anti-displacement analysis to all the work that's already happening. And so we're thrilled to hear about the work that our partners are doing, and our ideas and our wheels are turning about how we can continue to support you. I am going to actually hand it off to Brittany to talk a little bit about our community engagement through the Dignity, through the Oral History Project.
Okay, let's see. Dr. Thomas, can you share your screen again and go to the slide?
Sure.
That outlines the Oral History Project.
Sure.
And I'm just gonna go through it really quickly. So let's see, right here, perfect. So this kind of goes through our timeline, and we said summer 2020, we'd be doing concept development, we're engaging with stakeholders, and really kind of figuring out what the oral history team format looks like, what kinds of organizations, what kinds of partners we'd need to have at the table in order to move the project forward. So that's in development right now, fall 2020. We're moving into the story and visual asset collection. And then for winter 2021, we're actually gonna have the oral history installation and asset reveal. And then next slide, please. We hosted within our team, and this was a way for us to kind of do somewhat of like a test run. I think for us, one of the most important things, and Dr. Thomas touched on it earlier, is how do we have kind of low stakes engagement? So when we're coming to the community, the work isn't fully baked, and not because we're not prepared, but because we always want to have opportunities for the community to engage and be involved in decision-making processes. So we hosted an oral history lab internally to ask questions about Fresno and anti-displacement and the culture and the history, which is really important because we have folks within our team who are who have deep roots and connections to Fresno. And what we found from that lab is that displacement was something that was really important. Culture, especially music and visual art, visibility and erasure, and thinking about generational migration, and also centering race, so calling out multiple levels of erasure. And then Dr. Thomas, you can exit out because I know you have to run to a very important meeting, but I just kind of needed those slides. Thank you. And so we wanted to use those themes to then be able to, once we have, as we develop the Oral History Project and say we're ready to go out into the community and to actually start to collect those stories, we have some themes that will already kind of resonate with folks, and at the same time still build a project that allows people to engage and interact. So we're in the process of really kind of drilling in on what our theory of change and what our mechanism for data collection will look like. But that's coming in about a week or two, because we're working internally to really make sure that it's fleshed out and it feels like a good and solid product to deliver to the community. So there will be opportunities definitely for people to be able to engage
to share their stories, but also help us shape what the Oral History Project could look like. And y'all know that that's not an easy task to do the engagement, but then also as you're doing the engagement, allow people to inform the process. But that's something that we feel very strongly about, and that's our project, that's our organizational approach to the work. So I hope, and happy to field questions about where we are right now in the process, and also really excited to bring you all some more information as the project develops.
Thank you, Brittany, and thank you, everyone. Before I step out, I'll just add that the themes that came out of our initial oral history lab were informed by an earlier phase of community engagement that we call the social climate analysis, where we had an on-the-ground strike team effort to do observation throughout the entire footprint of the project area, and to assess the sociological conditions and risks that were currently in the environment. So all of those findings informed the perspectives and themes that came out of the oral history design lab. And I think that's all I'll add. I'm losing sunshine here, so I need to figure that out for the next meeting that I have to go to. But thank you all. I'm so inspired by the work that's happening on this project.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, and thank you, Brittany, for that great presentation. We really appreciate it. We are excited about all this work that's happening. Thank you again to all the partners that presented. We're going to go ahead and open it up for questions and answers regarding the transformative plan. So if anybody has a question for the presenters or any of their teammates, please raise your hand and we will allow you to talk. Seeing none, do any of our Outreach Oversight Committee have any questions? No? Okay, great. Moving on. Now is the time for public comment. So does anybody have any comments they would like to speak of regarding Transform Fresno, any of the projects? We'll go ahead and take public comment at this time. And remember, you have about 3 minutes to speak. So if you could keep the comments to that length, that would be great. Okay, seeing no comments from anybody. Council President Arias, do you want to adjourn us?
Hey there,
Okay,
sorry about that. Yes, if there are no other questions or comments from the Oversight Committee, I'll do one more round. Any comments, questions, or anything you'd like us to bring up at the next meeting? Feel free to just put on the chat or email Courtney and we'll work through that. Again, thank you all for the groundbreaking today of Chinatown. Expect some additional groundbreakings going forward. I think the next one up is later this month of the Fresno City, West Fresno College campus, where the State Center Board just awarded the contract to begin construction. So we'll make sure we keep you in the loop. It's probably going to be another virtual groundbreaking if that's the case. But anyway, either way, we'll let you know how things are progressing. And thank you again for staying on top of this and joining us this evening to make sure that this transformative work continues irrespective of the pandemic that we're all dealing with and the Zoom calls that we have to manage. So with that, thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.